Stephen plopped down on the couch with a heavy sigh after a long day at work. He flipped on the TV, hoping to take his mind off things for a bit before starting on dinner. As he channel surfed absent-mindedly, his gaze drifted to the framed photo on the end table, him as a boy, grinning widely with his beloved black cat Omelette cradled in his arms. It had been a year since Omelette disappeared. One day he simply didn't come home, leaving a gaping hole in Stephen's life and heart. He missed his furry companion desperately and still held out hope that maybe, just maybe, Omelette would turn up again someday. But as the months passed, that hope had dwindled to a faint flicker. With another sigh, Stephen forced himself up off the couch. Dwelling on what he'd lost wouldn't bring Omelette back. He needed to focus on the here and now, starting with figuring out what to make for dinner. Wandering into the kitchen, he opened the fridge and stared blankly at its meager contents. Shopping was overdue, but he hadn't had the energy lately. Grabbing a frozen meal, he half-heartedly tossed it in the microwave. As Stephen waited for his subpar dinner to heat up, movement outside the kitchen window caught his eye. A sleek black shape was gracefully walking along the top of his backyard fence. Stephen's heart leapt into his throat. Could it be? He raced to the back door and flung it open, hoping against hope. But as he drew nearer, he realized this wasn't Omelette after all. Similar, but not the same. One of the cat's ears had a small notch missing, and its emerald eyes were a shade darker. "Hey there," Stephen said softly, extending a hand for the cat to sniff. "You sure look a lot like an old friend of mine." The cat regarded him coolly for a moment before hopping down from the fence into Stephen's yard. It padded over and rubbed against his leg, purring loudly. Stephen crouched down to pet the friendly feline, smiling in spite of his disappointment that it wasn't Omelette. Animals always seemed to lift his spirits. "I bet you're hungry, huh? Hang on. I think I have some cat food inside from..." He trailed off, throat tightening. From when Omelette was still around. Rising, Stephen went back in the house, leaving the door cracked open behind him. He dug an old can of cat food out of the cupboard and grabbed a bowl. When he returned outside, the black cat was sitting regally in the middle of the yard, tail curled around its paws. "There you go, buddy. Enjoy." Stephen set the bowl down and stepped back. But the cat made no move toward the food. It just stared at Stephen with an unervingly intense gaze. Then, to Stephen's utter shock, it opened its mouth and spoke. "Hello, Stephen," the cat said in a clear, articulate voice. "I've been searching for you." Stephen stumbled backwards, certain he must be losing his mind. "What the? Did you just talk?" "Indeed I did," the cat replied calmly, as if this were an everyday occurrence. "My name is Obsidian, and I come bearing a message from Sir Leophilus IV, the one you call Omelette." Stephen's knees nearly buckled. "Omelette? He's alive? Where is he?" "Patience," Obsidian chided. "All will be revealed in due time. But first I must ask, do you wish to see him again?" "Of course," Stephen exclaimed without hesitation. "More than anything. Please, take me to him." A slow, unsettling smile spread across the cat's face. "Very well, but we have preparations to make first. Certain protocols that must be followed. You understand?" "Sure. Yeah, whatever you need," Stephen agreed readily, so blinded by desperate hope that he didn't register the warning bells going off in the back of his mind. "What do I need to do?" "To begin, it is customary to provide an offering of cream to the messenger," Obsidian stated. "A saucer of your finest will do." Okay. 1 second." Stephen darted inside, hastily pouring cream into a saucer with shaking hands. This was really happening. Omelette was okay, and he was finally going to see him again. He set the saucer at Obsidian's paws and watched as the cat began to daintily lap up the rich cream. With each lick of the cat's rough tongue, a chill ran down Stephen's spine, though he couldn't say why. Something felt off about this whole situation, but he pushed the thought away. Finding Omelette was all that mattered. Obsidian finished the cream and delicately licked his chops. "Very good. Most satisfactory. Now, if you'll kindly let me inside, we may proceed to the next step." Stephen held the door open wide and Obsidian slipped past him into the house. The cat padded to the center of the living room and sat, curling his tail around himself. "What now?" Stephen asked, shutting the door and facing Obsidian. The cat didn't answer right away. First, he uttered something in a language Stephen had never heard before, the syllables seeming to vibrate and hang in the air. As the final word left Obsidian's mouth, a perfect black circle materialized on the floor, filling most of the open space in the room. Tendrils of black smoke curled up from its edges. Stephen scrambled backwards until he bumped into the wall, heart pounding. What is that?" Obsidian smirked, a decidedly wicked expression. "This is your portal, your way to Sir Felis. Surely you're not afraid of a little hole in the ground." "And no, Stephen swallowed hard, mouth dry. Every instinct screamed at him to get away from the unnaturally dark void, but his need to find Omelette overpowered all else. "What do I do?" "Simple. Step into the circle with me. I will guide you to the other side, where Sir Felis awaits." Stephen hesitated, eyeing the portal with trepidation. The smoke swirled hypnotically, seeming to beckon him forward. "Having second thoughts?" Obsidian taunted. "I thought you desired to be reunited with your precious pet above all else. Perhaps your bond is not as strong as it seemed. Pity, Sir Felis will be most disappointed."
"No,"
Stephen shouted. "I'm coming. I'll do whatever it takes." Steeling himself, he took a step toward the portal, then another. The moment his foot touched the black surface, icy tendrils coiled around his ankle like spectral fingers. Fighting back a scream, he forged ahead until he stood beside Obsidian at the center of the void. The cat looked up at him, green eyes glinting with malice. As Stephen watched in horror, Obsidian's form seemed to waver and stretch, edges blurring and reshaping into something terrible. Distantly, he realized he'd made a dreadful mistake, but it was far too late. Obsidian's chuckle turned into a cruel, booming laugh as the black tendrils raced up Stephen's legs, piercing and burning his flesh. He opened his mouth to scream, but smoke poured down his throat, choking him. Thrashing futilely against his bonds, Stephen felt himself being dragged down, into a yawning abyss. "You foolish, gullible human." The creature that had been Obsidian growled, voice now a distorted boom. "So easily deceived by the promise of regaining what you've lost. I require playthings for my realm, and you walked right into my trap." Stephen could only gurgle in response, tears streaming down his face as he was pulled inexorably into the black. The thing laughed again, an awful sound of pure malevolence. "Struggle all you want, it will do you no good. You're mine now, for all eternity. But don't fret, you'll have company. Your precious Omelette awaits." With a final, wrenching tug, Stephen was ripped free of the world he knew and plunged into oblivion. His last sight was the thing wearing Obsidian's face grinning down at him before everything went black. Silence settled over the empty living room. All trace of the supernatural horror vanished as if it had never been, save for the words etched into the wall by invisible claws. Until next time.